Hello everyone, this is Ankita Hirawat, Faculty for Indirect Taxes. Our today's revision video is on concept of supply under GST. Please download the PDF attached below for better reference and let's get started. So concept of supply under GST. As I've earlier said that prior to GST, there were many indirect taxes prevailing in India. For example, if you want to sell any particular good, you have to pay VAT. If you want to provide any service, you have to pay service tax. And if you want to manufacture any item, you have to pay excise duty. But right now, everything has been combined into a single tax called GST. And the taxable event for GST is supply. Okay, so if your transaction or activity comes under the purview of supply, then you are under the purview of GST. So Section 7 of CGST Act explains the meaning and scope of supply. So supply includes all the forms of goods and services when done for consideration and in the course of business. So any activity or transaction related to any good or service, if two conditions are satisfied, that is when it is for a consideration and when it is for the purpose of business, the activity and transaction comes under the purview of supply. And but there is one particular activity which comes under the supply definition even if it is not done for the purpose of business. What is that? Import of service. So in case of importation of service, only one condition is required to be satisfied. What is that? The consideration condition. So importation of service when done for a consideration will be treated as supply even if there is no purpose of business in that particular transaction. Okay, even if it is not done for the purpose of business, if importation of services has been done for a consideration, it comes under the purview of supply. Then the act has mentioned certain activities in schedule 1. When these activities or transactions are undertaken, whether or not for consideration, it will be treated as supply. What does that mean? The activities mentioned in schedule 1, when done for the purpose of business, even though there is no consideration involved, still it will be treated as supply. So here only one condition has to be satisfied, that is it must be done for the purpose of business. Consideration is not required here. So this was the section 7 subsection 1 of CGST Act, which defines the supply concept. But there is one more subsection, subsection 1A, which distinguishes the supply of goods and services into supply of goods or supply of service. So once you understand from subsection 1 whether your supply is whether your transaction is a supply under GST, then you come to subsection 1A and identify whether your supply is a supply of good or a supply of service. How do you identify it? By checking the schedule 2. So in schedule 2, the supply has been differentiated from supply of good or supply of service. And then there is section 7 subsection 2, which defines certain activities which are not to be treated as supply. What are those activities? Activities mentioned in schedule 3. So the schedule 3 activities are those activities which according to GST Act are not to be treated as supply. When an activity is not treated as supply, then it automatically gets removed from the purview of GST. So the schedule 3 activities are not to be considered as supply under GST. And in the same way, subsection 2 gives the power to the government that government can notify any particular transactions or activities which are not to be treated as supply. Okay, so and the government has notified 2 such activities. What are those activities? The functions entrusted by panchayat and municipalities. So panchayat and municipalities have been entrusted certain functions by Article 243G and Article 243W of the Constitution of India. So when the municipality and panchayats undertake such functions, those services provided by municipality and panchayats are not to be treated as supply. Okay, because it has been notified by the government. The second notification is related to the service by way of grant of alcoholic liquor license. So the liquor so the person selling the liquor has to renew his license every year. So if you remember, alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the purview of GST. It is not taxable under GST. But here we are talking about the grant of liquor license, which is a service provided by the state government. Which is a service provided by the state government. There was a doubt. There was a doubt whether the alcoholic liquor license is to be considered under the definition of supply or not, because it was not removed by Schedule 3 and neither it was removed by the GST Act. So here the government has issued a notification stating that the license fee collected by the state government for grant of alcoholic liquor license is not to be treated as consideration, and the liquor license provided by the liquor license service provided by the state government is not a supply under GST. Okay, so liquor license service provided by the state government is not a supply under GST by the notification of government. But there is one more clarification given by the circular stating that this liquor license, this notification is only applicable in case of grant of liquor license. There are many other licenses given by the government against which the government collects license or application fee. What are those? Mining rights or license for natural resources or any other license or privileges. This notification is not applicable to such license fees. That means GST is to be collected on the license fees charged on such other application or amount collected for other activities. But it is not to be treated as supply when the license fee is collected for grant of alcoholic liquor license. Okay, so this was the notification. This is an amendment for November 2020. Okay, so this was the concept of supply broadly under GST. So let's see the supplies which were mentioned in Schedule 1, which are to be treated as supply even if there is no consideration charged. What are those? Schedule 1 activities, what are those? First one is permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where ITC has been availed. So if you have a business asset and if you permanently transfer it or permanently dispose it or discard it, but you have availed ITC on such particular asset when you purchased that asset, then you have to pay GST even if there is no consideration charged. Okay, so you have to see, while discarding the asset, you have to see whether you have availed ITC on the purchase of such asset or not. If yes, then even if there is zero consideration, you have to pay GST on it because it is treated as supply. You have to treat it as supply even if there is no consideration. The second is supply of goods or service between related person or between distinct person as mentioned in section 25 in course or furtherance of business. So when you supply good or service to a related person and if you are not charging any consideration, still the supply will be treated, still the transaction will be treated as supply under GST, even if no consideration is charged. And the same thing goes when you are transferring any good or service between deemed distinct person under section 25. What do you mean by distinct persons as specified under section 25 is, see, if you remember, there is no centralized registration under GST, right? You have to take state-wise registration under Goods and Service Tax Act. For example, if you have branches in two different states, say in Andhra Pradesh and in Maharashtra, you cannot take one single registration for both the branches. You have to take two separate registration, one for Andhra Pradesh and one for Maharashtra. And these two branches, because they have two different GST numbers, they will be treated as distinct establishment. They will be treated as different persons and different establishment under the eyes of GST. Okay, and when you are transferring your goods from one branch to another branch, that is from branch of Andhra Pradesh to branch of Maharashtra, and you are not charging any consideration because it is a stock transfer. But because it is transferred from one different establishment to another different establishment, it will be treated as supply because it is mentioned under Schedule 1. Okay. And if you have read the definition of related persons, employer and employee are also related persons under GST. So when an employer is gifting any good or providing any service as a gift to an employee, it will also be treated as supply, because an employer and employee comes under the purview of related parties under GST. But the gifts up to rupees 50,000 are not to be treated as supply under GST, because there has been a provision added that gift up to 50,000 given by an employer to an employee in the financial year. So for the entire financial year, you have to see all the gifts collected, all the gifts provided by the employer to employee in the entire financial year, add the value of all the gifts. If it exceeds 50,000, then it comes under the definition of supply. But if it does not exceed 50,000, then it does not come under the definition of supply. But if it exceeds 50,000, the entire amount will be taxed under GST. For example, if the value of gift in the financial year comes at the value of 70,000, then the entire 70,000 will be taxed. But if the value, the entire 70,000 will come under the definition of supply. But if the value is 49,000, then the entire 49,000 is out of purview of supply under GST. Okay, but here only the gifts will be treated as supply under GST, not the salaries or perquisites given by the employer to employee. Okay, so other than the amounts paid by the employer, which are under the purview of employment, other than that, if anything else is paid, then it will be treated as gift, and you have to see whether it exceeds value of 50,000 or not in the financial year. Then, if there are any supplies of goods or service between the principal and agent, where the agent undertakes the supply on behalf of the principal. So if the agent is supplying the goods to a buyer on behalf of the principal, then the transaction between the principal and agent will be treated as supply, even if there is no consideration charged for the goods. And in the same way, if the agent is receiving any goods from the supplier on behalf of the principal, still it will be treated as supply when the agent supplies the goods to the principal. And obviously there will be no consideration charge, because agent will just take the good from the supplier and it will be transferring those goods to the principal. But still that transfer between the agent and the principal will be treated as supply. And similarly, if principal is transferring any goods to the agent, so that the agent supplies those goods on behalf of the principal to his buyers, still it will be treated as supply. The goods transferred between the principal and the agent will be treated as supply, even if there is no consideration charge. The fourth one is import of services by any person from a related person or from his other establishment outside India in or course or furtherance of business. So if, for example, I am a business person in India and I have a related party outside India, and if I am importing any service from that related party for my business purpose, and from whom am I importing the service? From a related party, then that particular service importation will be treated as supply, even if there is no consideration charge. Similarly, I am a business person and I have my own establishment outside India. I have my own branch outside India and I am importing the service from my own branch outside India. Obviously, I'm not charging any consideration considering it is my own branch. But still it will be treated as supply, even if it is done for the course or furtherance of business. Okay. So this was Schedule 1 under GST. Now let's come to Schedule 2. What is Schedule 2? Once we get to know whether our transaction or activity comes under the definition of supply or not, we come to Schedule 2 to check whether our activity is supply of good or our activity is supply of service. Okay. So the first one is transfer in title of goods. So for example, if I'm selling the goods to my buyer, I'm transferring my title of goods from me to another person, that is my buyer. So when I'm transferring the title of the goods, it comes under the definition of supply of goods under GST. It is supply of goods. But I'm not transferring the title. I'm only transferring the right to use the goods without the transfer of title. Okay, for example, I'm giving my machinery on rent, or if I'm giving my any other asset, business asset on rent to any other person, then I'm not transferring the title. That machine still belongs to me. I'm only transferring the right to use the machine. It comes under the concept of supply of service. It is a supply of service. And the third one is, the title won't get transferred to another person right now, but it will get transferred in the future when the person pays the entire amount or the entire consideration agreed upon. What is this? Hire purchase. So in hire purchase, you buy a particular item, you buy a particular good, and you pay only down payment, and you pay the entire balance amount in installments. So when the last installment is paid by you, the particular asset or that particular good comes to you, uh, becomes yours. The title of the particular goods transfers to you. So right now the title is not yours, but in the future when you pay the entire amount, the title will be transferred to you. Then such particular transaction or activity, supply of good under GST. Next is if any lease, tenancy or license is given to occupy the land. Okay, this is not sale of land. It is only lease, rent or tenancy or license to occupy the land for temporary purpose for certain period, then it is supply of service. Similarly, it goes for building. Any lease, rent, letting out of building or commercial complex or industrial or residential complex for business purpose, wholly or partly, then it is supply of service. Okay, so any lease, license or letting out or uh, rental activity undertaken for any complex building or complex building or any residential area or any residential building, it will be treated as supply of service. Okay, and treatment or process done to another person's goods. So when treatment or process is done to another person's goods, that is, the good does not belong to you. You just perform any particular process on that goods, and then you transfer the good to its original owner, like job work service. Then it will be treated as supply, because supply of service, because it is not transferring title, and neither those are your goods. They are somebody else's good. You are just processing those goods and you are returning those goods to the other person. It is a supply of service. Next is transfer of business assets. If you have transferred any business asset or disposed of any business asset, and those assets does not form part of your business, because you have transferred it or disposed it of permanently, whether or not for consideration. This, if you remember, this is the thing, this is the activity under schedule 1, whether or not for consideration. If you have transferred those assets and the assets are no longer a part of your business, it is supply of goods. Okay, and similarly, if the goods which are used for the business purpose, if you put it into private use, or if you're giving it to any person who is using the particular good or asset for private purposes, for other than business purpose, then also it will be treated as supply of service. Okay, so if suppose I'm using this laptop for my business purpose, and if I have transferred it to my personal use, or if I have given it to my friend who is using it for his personal use or for any other use which is not related to my business, it will be treated as supply of service. Okay, next is goods forming part of goods forming part of assets of any business by a person who ceases to be a taxable person. So if there are any goods which are a part of business assets, and that particular person carrying on the business ceases to become a taxable person. When does he cease to become a taxable person? When he is canceling his registration, or when he is shutting down his business. When he shuts down his business, he ceases to be a taxable person, or when he cancels his registration under GST, then also he ceases to be a taxable person. So when he ceases to be a taxable person, then all the goods which are his business assets will be treated as supply of goods under GST. It will be treated as supply of goods under GST. immediately before he ceases to be a taxable person, right? But there are two exceptions here. If the person transfers his business to another person who carries on the business as a going concern, then it will not be treated as supply. And the second one is the business is carried on by his personal representative, and that personal representative is a taxable person, then also it is not a supply. Other than these two, if the person who is carrying on the business ceases to become a taxable person, then all the business assets which are which form a part of asset, all the goods which form a part of his business assets the prior to him ceasing to become a taxable person will be treated as supply of goods. They will be considered as supply, and they will be considered as supply of goods under GST. Okay. Similarly, renting of immovable property. So renting of any commercial complex or or any religious place or any property given to educational institute for rental purposes for usage by an educational institute, all will be treated as supply of service. Similarly, permitting the use of immovable property for placing any vending machines or dispensing machines will be treated as supply of service. Next is construction of complex building or civil structure. So this is important. So when you are undertaking any construction of complex building or civil structure, you are an construction service provider, and in construction and during the construction period you have got a buyer, and that buyer pays you the entire consideration after receiving the completion certificate from the authority, from the concerned authority, then it will not be treated as supply. But if the buyer pays you even a single rupee before the issuance of completion certificate, then it will be treated as supply of service. Okay, so understand it again. There is an activity. See here, first let me explain you with an example. For example, I am a construction contractor and I am constructing a building, and while constructing a building I have got a buyer who is ready to purchase my building, and my building has got its completion certificate from the specified authority on 1st August, for example, and the buyer has occupied the first occupation by the buyer of the building is on 5th August. Okay, so you have to search for a date which is earlier to these both, that is 1st August or 5th August, whichever is earlier. What is the date? 1st August. So if the construction contractor, that is I am getting any consideration from the buyer before 1st August, then my entire construction contract service will be treated as supply of service under GST. Got it? So, but if I'm getting the entire amount after 1st August, that is the after issuance of completion certificate, or after first occupation, whichever is earlier, that is 1st August or 5th August, whichever is earlier, if I'm getting that entire amount after that particular date, that is 1st August, then my entire consideration will not be treated as supply under GST. But if I'm getting even a single rupee before this date, before 1st August, then my entire construction contract of the building will be treated as supply of service under GST. You get it? Why will it not be treated as supply under GST if I'm getting the entire amount after the issuance of completion certificate or first occupation, whichever is earlier? Because that is mentioned in Schedule 3. Okay, that is mentioned in Schedule 3. But other than that, if I'm getting any amount prior to this date, what is this date? Issuance of completion certificate or first occupation, whichever is earlier. The date, whichever is earlier, if I'm getting even a single amount, if the construction contractor is getting a single amount from the buyer prior to this particular date, the entire activity will be treated as supply of service. Get it? Next is temporary transfer or permitting or use of intellectual property rights, that is patents, copyrights, etc., etc. If any patent or copyright is been, if I have any patent or copyright, if I am transferring it temporarily to another person, to another, say I'm transferring my patent on the particular book to another, to a publishing authority for a consideration temporarily, for temporary purpose, it is supply of service. Okay. And if I'm developing, designing or programming or customizing any IT software for a particular person, then it is supply of service under GST. And if I'm agreeing to obligation to refrain from an act, or if I'm agreeing to obligation to do or tolerate an act, then also it is a supply of service. For example, if I am, and if I am coming into an agreement with another person that I will not be supplying in my particular goods which I'm manufacturing in my business, if I'm entering into an agreement that I will not supply my goods to these particular areas because the other person will be supplying those goods in those areas, what am I doing? I am agreeing to refrain from an act. I'm agreeing to refrain from selling my goods to those particular areas, and for that, the person is giving me a certain amount as consideration. So I'm agreeing to refrain from an act for a consideration. It is supply of service. Okay. Next, transfer of right to use the goods. Again, giving any particular good on rental purposes. I'm transferring the right to use the goods. I'm not transferring the title. It is supply of service. Next is composite supply. What are composite supplies? Two or more supplies combined together and given it as and provided as single supply. Okay. So works contract service. In works contract service, what do you have? You supply material also. What is works contract service? Any repair, alteration, or any renovation of a immovable property is works contract. So in works contract, you supply material also, and in works contract, you provide labor service also. So it is combination of two different supplies combined together and given as one particular supply. So this composite supply, even though there is supply of good by way of transfer of materials and there is supply of service by way of giving labor services, still the entire supply will be called supply of services only. So there is no need to bifurcate that this much of the contract, works contract, comes under supply of goods, or this much of the works contract comes under supply of service, because schedule 2 says even if there is supply of good and supply of service together, the entire works contract service will be treated as supply of service only. Similarly, restaurant, catering services, mess services, etc., there is supply of good because restaurant supplies food to you, and there is supply of service also because they provide you, the waiters provide you servicing service, they serve the food to you. So that is supply of service. But still, you have no requirement of bifurcating the supply of how much is the supply of good or how much is the supply of service, because the entire supply will be treated as supply of service only. Okay. Next is supply of goods between any unincorporated association or body of persons to its members. For example, I am a member of any unincorporated association. My 4 and 5 friends have come together for some purpose, and we have formed an unincorporated association or body of persons. And if that association is providing me laptop for lesser consideration, for any less amount, if they are providing me any laptop for my usage for a lesser amount, so that supply between unincorporated association to its member or body of persons to its member is supply of goods. Okay, so this was schedule 2, which bifurcates the supply of goods and supply of services. Okay. Next is schedule 3. What is schedule 3? As I have earlier said, schedule 3 means that particular transaction or activity will not be treated as supply under GST. So the first is services by an employee to his employer in course or relation to his employment. So all, as I have earlier said, employer and employee are related parties under GST. So any services provided by employer or any services provided by employee So each other will be treated as supply. But Schedule 3 says the services provided by the employee to his employer which are related to the employment, which are in course or relation to the employment, will not be treated as supply under GST. So the employer will pay the consideration to his employee in course or relation to the employment, that is salaries, perquisites, etc., etc., will be under Schedule 3 and will not be treated as supply. Other than those, anything paid by the employer will be treated as supply, but uh, we have an exception up to rupees 50,000 in the financial year. And similarly, if employee, if he provides any good or if he provides any service which are outside the course of employment, which is outside the course of employment, it will be treated as supply. It will not be under Schedule 3. The second one is the court or tribunal services provided. The services provided by court or tribunal will be mentioned under Schedule 3 and it will not be treated as supply. Similarly, functions performed by MLAs, MPs, members of state legislatures, members of panchayats, municipalities, the services provided by such members will not be treated as supply, will be mentioned under Schedule 3 and they are not treated as supply. Similarly, if any duties performed by a person who is on a particular post due to provisions of the Constitution. So who are those? For example, Prime Minister, Chief Ministers, etc. They are under, they are performing the duties and they are holding the posts or authority as per the provisions of the Constitution. So the duties performed by them will not be treated as supply under GST. And duties performed by any person as chairperson, member or director of a body established by central or state government or local authority who is not deemed to be an employee. So if a service is provided by a person as a chairman or as a member or a director of a central or state government established body. Okay, so suppose any company or any department has been established by central or state government and a person is a chairman of that particular body or a member in that particular body or a director of that particular company, and he's not an employee. If he's an employee, for example, he's an employee, he comes under first point only. He comes under the first clause of Schedule 3. He comes under the first definition of Schedule 3, that is not to be treated as supply, employer and employee concept. But if he's not an employee, if he is not treated as employee, then also it is not, then also the service provided by him is not treated as supply because of this point. Okay, but this is applicable only if the person is a chairman, member or director of a government established body. So if a person is a chairman, director or member of a government established body, and who is not an employee, if he is an employee, it comes under the first point only. If he is not an employee, still the services provided by him will not to be treated as supply. But if he is a chairman or member of a director of a body which is not established by government, and if he is not an employee also, then it comes under the definition of supply. Next is services provided by person as funeral, burial or crematorium services or transportation of deceased. So services by way of funeral services, burial services, crematorium services or transportation of deceased services, such services does not come under the definition of supply. Sale of land is not to be treated as supply under GST. So renting or occupying the land for temporary purpose or giving the license to occupy the land for temporary purpose is supply. But selling the land, sale of land is not to be treated as supply. And subject to paragraph 5B of Schedule 2, sale of building. What is subject to paragraph 5B of Schedule 2? What I have explained earlier. That if a particular consideration is received by a person before first occupation or before the issuance of completion certificate, whichever is earlier, it is the consideration received for the construction of building will be treated as supply. But if the entire consideration is received after the completion certificate issued or after the first occupation, whichever is earlier, if the entire consideration is received after that date, then that supply will not be treated as supply, then that transaction will not be treated as supply under GST. So subject to paragraph 5b means subject to receiving of consideration prior to completion certificate or first occupation, whichever is earlier, the sale of building is not to be treated as supply under GST. Actionable claims. Actionable claims. What are actionable claims? The claims for insurance, receiving the insurance amount, or the fixed deposit certificates, or promissory notes, bills of exchange. All these are actionable claims. So all those actionable claims come under the Schedule 3. So that is, they are not to be treated as supply, but actionable claims like lottery, betting, and gambling are removed from the Schedule 3 list. If they're removed from the Schedule 3 list, what does it mean? It comes under the definition of supply. So other than lottery, betting, and gambling, all the actionable claims are not to be treated as supply under GST. Entry 7 and entry 8 of Schedule 3 is not under your syllabus. It comes under the final. Next is clarification on levy of GST on supply of display of name or placing of nameplates of the donor in the premises of charitable organization receiving donation or gifts. See, suppose I am a business person and I have donated a heavy amount to a charitable institute, and the charitable institute, to show its gratitude, has mentioned my name, the name of my business, on its nameplate outside its outside the organization, outside its organization. It has written the name of my business on the nameplate, stating that this person has given this much as a donation to the charitable institute. So there was a question whether this particular donation given will be treated as supply or not, and whether GST has to be charged or not. So here clarification has been given that the donation provided by the business person has been done on his own account. He was not obligated to it. Secondly, the charitable organization was also not obligated to compulsorily mention my name outside its premise on the nameplate. It has done to show only the gratitude to the person who has donated the amount. There was no obligation or there was no compulsion to mention the name of the business outside on the nameplate. Okay, only for the purpose of showing gratitude, the name was placed in the nameplate of the organization. And secondly, there was no intention of advertisement or promotion of that particular business. The reason of mentioning the name of the business was only to show the display of gratitude, for only the display of gratitude. So such activity is not to be treated as supply under GST. It does not come under the definition of supply. So this was the circular. This is the new circular issued by the Government of India. Okay. So this was the concept of supply under GST. All this was section 7 of CGST Act 2017, meaning and scope of supply under GST. If you want me to record other revision videos for any other concept of GST, please let me know in the comment section below. Till then, take care.